What's going on, everybody? Welcome to podcast episode 45. I'm going to be joined today by Aaron Hatfield, head of sales at Arvist. Let's get right into it. What's going on, man?
Hey, I got to tell you, man, that intro music, that was probably the best hype intro that I've heard in a while. I gets me every time.
It's pretty fire, bro. You just type in trap non-copyright and you just find something non-copyright, man. That's the worst part about editing and running stuff is it always has to be non-copyright. So it takes a while.
I dig it. I loved it. It was good.
All right, man. It's a Friday. I want to get you out here and enjoying your weekend at a reasonable time. So let's hop right into it. How did you get into logistics?
Yeah. So I first got into logistics. I joined the Army right out of high school, did that for a while, came back, went to school and couldn't find work. And so while I was going to school, I started applying everywhere, looking, kind of what industry I wanted to get into, and got a job starting at in cold storage at a warehouse operation up here in Greater Cincinnati. And of all things, worked in HR. And then
it's funny because you mentioned to me you worked in the warehousing, but you didn't mention it was cold storage.
Yeah. So it was definitely, I was at that time, I think I was a little too young and dumb to realize how great of it was. A good start into logistics, especially being cold storage is, I was able to get
off on the totem pole.
Well, just, I got a good understanding of that industry on the backside of things, but they had a reduction in force after I was there for a little bit. And so I moved into brokering freight, and I worked with RWI Logistics. They're a brokerage here in Northern Kentucky, and they're actually owned by the Castellinis, if you're familiar with Castellini Produce.
I feel like I've hauled for them before. It sounds familiar. If I saw the logo, I would be able to tell you yes or no.
Yeah.
Familiar.
No, great company. They're up there. In touch with several of the folks that are still up there still in Northern Kentucky, and did that for around 2 years, and then had a buddy did a complete shift and sold software with a company called Paycor for a while, and providing HRIS type stuff. And that's really where I got kind of my first dip into the software side of sales, especially partnerships, SMB, so on and so forth.
That's also a company I've heard of. I have no clue what they do, but that name has definitely come across my desk.
Yeah, well, it's all HR related, employee compliance related. They do a lot of stuff they sponsor the Cincinnati Bengals. They're on their logos on the side of the stadium. So yeah, great company, great people. And COVID happened. And unfortunately, I was part of, as everybody was getting laid off, stuff happens.
The nature of the beast, man.
Right. And but great team, great company, great people. And from there, though, I jumped right into independent brokering I just jumped back in. I was like, well, I've done this before. I know how to do it. I still had good connections locally and just around the region here. Did that under my own thing, and had the doors open for about 3 years. And in that,
so you're in your own brokerage, like your MC, completely your own, or were you an agent?
I did the whole thing myself, that was
that's a journey.
I tell you what, it was a great learning experience. I did all right, I met my needs, I hit my goals and everything, but going the full 9 yards on my own, that was a learning experience if I've ever had.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I see it all the time. I mean, what kind of freight were you guys dealing with predominantly?
So I was running just a lot of dry good type stuff. When I was with RWI Logistics, I did a lot of expedite. So I still had a lot of connections in that area. So it was a lot of small freight, but it was all expedited box truck and or
box truck stuff. Yeah, box truck market's pretty fire, man. If you know what you're doing, especially expedite box truck.
Yeah, and I played in that space a lot when I was brokering previously. It was 60-70% of what I did was kind of in the expedite realm. So I was like, all right, I know this. I'm going to hit this for a little while.
Yeah, it's definitely a niche. You can definitely kind of command some money for good service. I mean, it's always good to niche down into something, and that's definitely a good one.
Well, and I just honestly kind of lucked out. I was really lucky to have, that kind of that experience in that niche, and then COVID and everything. Yep. So it was great. Was able to jump back into it. And during that time, I actually got approached with the startup that I was most recently with before now, a company called Freight, Frayt. And
Yeah, I saw that. I thought the name was pretty ingenious, man. Because I was like,
yeah,
fry it, fry, and then I looked at my god, it's just freight, bro. Like,
yeah, no, it was a great play on words. They got a great team over there. I left them about a year ago. Was employee number 10 with them. Came on and helped build out their operations. Started their inside sales, and then helped build out partnerships and 3PL relationships from a tech-enabled last mile delivery standpoint. And parted ways with them coming up actually in November a year ago, and started my own consulting agency, Hatfield Consulting. And I do some local work around here, but I also, my specialty is supply chain related. But that's actually where I came to also with my most recent position here with Arvist AI, is I was able to work with them on some projects earlier in the year, and then came on after really seeing their product from the warehousing perspective and how they're using Vision AI to actually be practical and impactful versus, I walked through Home Depot last week and I saw a washing machine that said AI enabled or assist. And I was like, I don't even know I don't even know what that means, but then you have a company like Arvist AI. And, I always encourage people to peel layers back with a new and developing technology, especially in logistics. And it's been an awesome bridge, great clients, great team to work with, but
this guy
that's
said an AI washing machine, bro.
I kid you not. I saw it and I kind of chuckled because now working with Arvist and being in the industry now, it's just like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah. So I mean, you want to explain to us, like, the AI definition within Arvist, because obviously that word's
yeah,
thrown around a lot, and people get like really put down heavily when they just kind of slap that term onto things. So I mean, what does
right.
AI mean for you guys?
Absolutely. So first thing, any part of the supply chain that you're in, whether it relates to what Arvist does or not, it's like you just said, when it comes to AI, I tell people always peel the layers back. Right now, there's approximately like 10 definitions of specific types or language models, which language models, LLMs, think of Chat GPT, Chat Gemini, stuff like that. That's a great starting point. When it comes to Arvist, though, what we utilize specifically is what's called computer vision or vision AI. And what it does is when we work with our clientele, specifically within like 3PLs, like the warehousing space and so forth, is we integrate directly. We've created a platform that integrates directly with their existing camera system or CCTV cameras within their warehouse, as well as their existing software. So we integrate with their WMSs, ERPs, scheduling software if they have it. And we are able to visually pull data on safety and compliance. So something as simple, think of the yard or on the dock of, is this person supposed to be here now? Was there an injury? Did a forklift run into a truck or a person? Or we're able to highlight that visually, create a 10, 15-second clip of the incident or however long it is. Our AI reads that, calls that out based on conditions that we've worked with to set with our customer, and we'll send that live to their WMS ERP and update calls, text through their software, et cetera. We do the same thing with quality as well as productivity. So with pallet analysis, overages, damages, case counting.
So you guys are able to kind of visualize, issues with pallets, issues with misloads, where
right.
the freight is in the warehouse.
Exactly. So what we're able to do, several of our clients currently, they have quality control stations or staging areas, which are super common right on the receiving or stage or shipping sides of the docks. So especially, when you're receiving product, there's benefits here is one, the visual software is calling out any inefficiencies right on the dock before it ever hits the backside of the warehouse. So they're able to highlight, hey, are there damages? Are there any detention charges, for the driver? How long was the loading dock, et cetera. These are all updates that normally would be reported, at a shift change.
By a human. Yeah.
Right. And so what we've been able to do is by integrating directly with phones, tablets, or existing software, we're able to, let's say, you have that, the dock worker or whatever, they're unloading, taking off, is they're able to take pictures, or if they're driving at a slow, but not, snail pace. They're driving past cameras. We're able to pull that data and then shoot it up so that worker can go on to the next dock door, to the next pallet. And really our goal is to be, I like to say, the absolute best tool in a warehouse operator's toolbox. And at the end of the day is your drivers are going to be happy, especially if you're asset-based 3PL and warehousing, your drivers will be happier, your warehousemen will be happier. And we've seen a lot of, we're fairly and competitively priced. We don't gouge. I consistently say, and you can ask if anybody's watching on LinkedIn, they've heard me say it before with these clients and prospects, is we're here to grow with you, not gouge with you. Because if you went, like if the warehouse operators that we work with see this technology and we're able to educate how Vision AI is used, and then also how we use generative AI to fill out and autocomplete incident reports, OSHA forms, etc., is that's a win, because we're creating a bridge. And then if our clients succeed, then we succeed, because one, there's continuous validation again and again for the product and the use cases, but also as we're able to really save a lot of money ROI wise on their bottom line on the back of house. And that's where it comes to labor costs and so forth, is we're really able to make an impact without sacrificing your employees or just trying to continue to struggle with a labor shortage.
Yeah, I mean, from the way you just kind of described it to me, it just sort of seems like it seems like so future. I'm just envisioning like this software that's just like automating a lot of things in this warehouse through cameras, which sounds like insane to me. It's like you're creating like this eye in the sky that's just doing a whole bunch of things. Like,
right. And that's the Arvist team. It's a small team, an agile team of developers, and, shout out to them. They've, I've said also numerous times, I'm not a bandwagon guy, but I'm on this wagon and I'm playing the loudest trumpet, right? They've created something that I believe really bridges the gap between tech and supply chain, provides actual benefit, and they haven't overcomplicated it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it sounds mad simple, bro. Like, I mean, it's not simple in the creation of it or in how it was created and run,
right?
But like the way it's implemented and the way that it's actually being deployed sounds mad simple. Like, just doing things, nobody has to touch it. Like,
exactly. Like, the only piece of hardware that we'll install on a customer site is a small server within the server room, and that's to protect our clients' data. So we don't even, we can work in the cloud and so forth, but we have some international clients as well. When it comes to the EU, for instance, facial recognition, GDPR laws, you're not allowed to do that. We've gone ahead, even when we're detecting glasses, helmets, PPE type stuff.
You guys can do all of that stuff too, eh?
Yeah.
You can see somebody missing a hairnet or some earmuffs.
Yeah, but those are all based on our customer requirements, and we've created it's as much of a quote no code environment or a light lift environment for the consumer and the client as I think you can get, at least in my experience. And so mad credit and massive credit to the dev team. And, through all this stuff, though, is while we're generating this, we're keeping their data secure. So we're not looking at your people's, identity. We're not, we are there to literally complement and fundamentally at the minute basis, help your process just be that much better with less of a workforce, and we've seen a lot of our clients, they're able to focus more on like their strategic goals, like whether they're expansion or, they start being able to handle more volume because yes, they have a smaller workforce, right? But what are they able to do? Take on more their employees. None of our clients, a big myth about AI is people are like, oh, it's taking our jobs. Like if you ever seen the South Park episode, it's right, taking our jobs, is we're not there yet. Right. And regardless, I saw Tesla's thing the other day. I love I love robotics and like automation at every stage of the game. But what AI is the best tool you can have for your warehouse, especially from an Arvist standpoint. And none of our clients have laid anybody off due to our software.
Yeah, so okay, I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah,
But,
no, to my like, and I've even asked the question just flat out
I
about,
was gonna ask
you
you
know,
that question just flat out, like in a minute
yeah,
or two. Like, are people getting fired? Or is the safety
no,
team getting fired? Like, or is
no,
this just
if
more of an extra pair of hands, or I guess
it's
extra
the
pair of
best way to
eyes?
put it, yeah, extra pair of hands and eyes, and that's, we've been, routinely, um, there we
Taking
go.
over, man. The
That's
robots. Because
right.
Sean and me have a joke where he's a robot, man. I guess is
Nice.
right on par with that.
There you go. Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I think automation is cool. I think it's great. I'm also just, I got a geek side to me as well as I just really enjoy learning about it because, that's why, like with Arvist in particular, is I can't do what our dev guys have done, and the reason I talk about it so much and I'm so happy to share it is I started in a warehouse. I started in supply chain and came into tech. I didn't come from tech into the supply chain. And I don't know, being, having that bent anyway
Or the
from the
worst of all of that is like come into the supply chain as a tech company and that's it, and never have any background in the
right,
supply chain.
right. It's been one, selfishly, I've been lucky because I'm able to personally kind of see this bridge being created and be a part of it. But honestly, is being able to see a tech team like the one that Arvis has put together. I always tell people it's time for the dev folks that especially are making bridges. They need to get their time in the limelight. So I always want to make sure to point them out because it's practical, it's applicable, and back to the whole is you've made the complex simple. You know, I I always like the phrase simple stupid or stupid simple. And that's not because the individual themselves is stupid, but stupid is. I made a joke in a conversation the other night. I was reading a book about complex systems from a physicist, right? And I was just reading about learning. I had to read it twice. I'm from Kentucky, man. So is if you can make it, is I'm not dumb, but it's one of those things is I appreciate when it's easy to understand because that's how you're
Yeah.
going to have to relate is you could be the smartest person in the world, create the fanciest software solution, but if you can't actually,
Yeah, if nobody can understand the problems you're solving or like even just grasp the concept of what you're trying to
bingo,
do, it doesn't matter how good your product is if nobody can understand it.
bingo. And that's kind of where,
Done a good job here. Like you've explained all this to me. Like I'm not from Kentucky, but I'm also I've learned since I moved to Europe that North American schooling is not exactly the best. So I
hey,
feel a little leg down. But yeah, you've definitely explained it to me in a
well, I
normal way.
appreciate it. Well, thank you. No, thank you. That's encouraging. I mean, and that's because that's, just personally as well is, in my experience, I've bounced around a little bit. It wasn't necessarily intentional, but I've now come to a culmination point personally, where I can see I've been blessed with the differences of experiences, yet
Yeah.
still they're all able to relate, right? And really, through with my consulting agency, but also here with Arvist, it's been a really fun, personally for me, foray into AI and how that actually works in logistics, because I'm learning so much at the same time as well. Because people have to realize is AI is a constantly developing technology, right? And that's one thing what Arvis does is, with our clients and with our customers, as these new capabilities become available, we push out routine automatic updates. And that's where Arvis becomes a little like SaaS. I always like to say logistics as a service. But it's a subscription based because you're not necessarily toggling the human element as much as you are in other capacities, right? Um, and so that's where it really becomes a fun combination of new and developing tech meets, processes, operational efficiency. And I mean, it's logistics. 70% of everything in the States goes on a truck. So it's fun to be a part of it.
I mean, yeah, I would kind of put your guys' model in the only way that I know how is like video games, right? So like the whole live
Right.
service thing became really popular the past few years, where like games are constantly developing, they're adding new stuff every day, every week, every
Right.
month, and the games never really. There's no start and end to games these days. Like they're just a
Right.
live service at that point, and especially with how fast the AI thing is kind of going, you guys have like the right idea where it's like logistics as a service. Like every time there's an update we'll bring it out to you guys, so you're not really buying a
Right.
product, you're just buying buying a never-ending updated service.
Right. Well, and that's, with the dashboard and the platform that they've created is they've combined traditional language models with computer vision, right? And they've made it to where, well, a lot of the conversations have become, rather than, getting pitch slapped all the time, which I hate, is it becomes a conversation of, oh, I didn't realize that, or, oh, what does this mean? It's more of a, like a talking shop conversation with a lot of these warehouse operators, because they're curious, and it's such
like
a
new foreign element, man. Yeah, like it's
right.
like I can grasp it very easily, very quickly, because I just understand. Like, I'm also interested in tech. I also follow current trends with tech, but I could understand going to some like random warehouse with some like random group of people and be like, oh, we got this robot, and they're just gonna look at you like you're crazy.
Right. Man. Well, that's I sent out the other day. I was sending out some emails, and there's some folks that I was trying to, I was at a bunch of trade shows here back in September, so I'm following up, and a couple of them, they were good conversations, but it was, that typical trade show where it's like, oh, darn, I wish, I could have asked them one more question, or we didn't get the touch on what I thought really they would value. And so I just sent out a subject line email to a couple of these folks, and I just said, AI is not like Skynet, ... Yeah, exclamation point, and it was kind of a joke, but I jumped in. I was like, hey, I'd rather, if
like you said, you guys are a tool in the box. You're not like this doom and gloom situation where, oh, if the company integrates with you guys, 15 people lose their job on the spot. I mean, you guys are just extra, from what I understand, just an extra pair of hands in the warehouse.
Right. And all of the data that we collect, everything that, we've created a dashboard platform with different modules. And all of this is, it's our customers, our clients' data, right? And so it's stored on site. We have that security, those extra layers of security built in. But then also all the data that we're collecting in that dashboard, we're reporting on, vehicle capacity utilization, dock door utilization, any other additional KPIs. And so really it's, like you said, the tool is we're like a megaphone is we want to shine a light on obviously what goes well, but at the end of the day, business is business. Everybody's out to make a buck. Let's just,
look, dock door 32 is not being used 17% of the time. If you improve that 17%, you're going to make X amount at the end of the year. I mean, exactly. Like, it's a business, right?
And that's what
efficiencies pointed out.
Right. And that's what I love about it is it's not a sales, like, especially, in my capacity as head of sales, is I only win if you win.
Yeah, of course.
Our Arvist only wins as a business if you win. And honestly, just the altruistic sense of me is, back when I started my consulting agency, somebody was asking me, like, what's the biggest thing? And I've just kind of accepted it now. They're like, what's the biggest thing in sales, especially technical sales, that like biggest piece of advice? I was like, don't be a schmuck. It's simple, bro. It's at the end of the day, just shoot straight. And, like, we've had conversations where, people with, they've seen Arvist, they're not ready yet, which is okay, hey, I'm not going to sit here and hound you, but let me answer your questions then. I'm happy, one, because like you, I enjoy the stuff. It's just a fun thing to talk about. Right. And, just like enjoy it. Like. Right. It's the Miracle on 33rd Street or 34th Street, whatever that principle is, where it's, Macy's referred them to Trimble's or vice versa, one of the two. And it was delighting the customer. So it's, we do, in my opinion, a better job than our competitors. And we focus on multiple areas more efficiently, in my opinion. Respect to them. I know folks that work at all of them, so no shade at all. But I just think I've bought into I'm on this bandwagon.
Hey, you joined the winning team, in your opinion, man. That's
right.
You got to represent your team. It's healthy. Competition is healthy, and it fuels growth. And I'll give you a quick anecdote of that. I live in a very small place, like a village, bro. And there's one restaurant in this. Well, there used to be two, but one closed down right when I got here. So there's one restaurant in this entire place, and the food is like, it's whatever, dude. It's the only restaurant. What can you do? Then another restaurant opened, and I was like, watch what's gonna happen, man. Now there's competition, and now they're gonna have to like fight with each other. And then the original place is gonna start improving the quality of things, because if they don't, they're gonna get swallowed up by the second place that just opened. So
Right.
in the most fundamental way, competition fuels growth and it
Oh,
fuels advancements. And without healthy competition, without saying, like, that's the thing. You can't just come out and say, "Oh, my competition sucks." No, like, you have to be like, respectfully, I just think we do things better, and that's
right.
a healthy thing in America.
Right. And that's, and that's Arvist, the team, the rest of the team, they all share that really just great perspective and mindset is, they found a hole, they found a gap, they created to the need of their clients and customers. And a lot of these things we've developed alongside of our existing clients
Yeah,
because
of
is
course. Yeah.
why develop something if it's not going to land with who you're trying to serve best? And, again, massive props to the team on that. And that's also what I find attractive about Arvist is they're blending old world, new world. They're making it less fearful because
Yeah.
and because there is that
They're taking
nobody.
AI off the pedestal and they're not making it sound like most companies try to prop up AI and try to prop up their tech to make you not understand it. So you pay them. So you think it's this crazy
Right,
thing. But you guys are kind of working in reverse where you're like, okay, it is this crazy thing and we're really smart and we figured it out. But don't
right.
be scared of it. And this is what it is. It's a normal thing you can incorporate into
Exactly.
your life.
Well, and that's, growing up, like I made the joke, I grew up in Kentucky is, I'm in Northern Kentucky near Cincinnati. And it just reality is where I grew up is, half the people I grew up with are in the trades. Right. So I'm very comfortable with white collar. I'm very comfortable. I always make the joke. I'd rather be in boots and jeans if I have the option. But is when you're able to bring this technology and bridge not only the white collar, blue collar relationship, but make a tradesman or a warehouse operator or a truck driver make their lives legitimately or their work dates legitimately even just a little bit better based on some type of efficiency. The altruistic side of me as well gets really excited. And I think that's what they've done is you have to make, especially with new and developing technology, you got to make it practical. Is if you can't bridge it, especially with, like I said, the trades or, which, driving especially, or, forklift operators, warehouse, if you can't relate it with these types of industries, you're going to fall flat because the supply chain literally moves the entire nation forward, and so if you're able to have a positive impact and rather than, in COVID, there was a lot of fundraising, right? And there's a lot of names that aren't around anymore. And, and it's because I don't think they had a great idea, but they weren't able to execute and make it as practical as they might have
Well, I
hoped
mean,
it to be.
I'll give you a quick little story, man. So I also came from the trades background, and it wasn't for
Nice.
like a lack of my ability to think, man. I mean, I was
Right.
never like a dumb gue, but I just kind of fell
Right.
into it. It made me some solid money back in the day, and
Right.
I was at this one house, man, like this mansion, like multi-million-dollar house, and I was a drain layer, so I was digging a hole somewhere
Nice.
outside to find the pipe for them. And long story short, like the owner of the home came home at like 3-4 p.m. and he looks over this hole. I'm like covered in mud, man. It's like freezing cold, and he's like, "Oh yeah, glad to see we hired somebody to do all the grunt work." And because I guess I don't know what he thought, to be honest. I mean, I was the owner of the company. I was just changing the pipe for him, like, but I
Yeah.
was digging the hole. I mean, of course I'm gonna dig the hole, man. I let my
Right.
helper stand outside and just pull the bucket. And I told this guy, "Oh, the grunt work. Like, I guess that's like talking down to me about something." I was like, "Okay, I can just go home and you cannot use your toilet tonight. That's fine too."
Right. Right.
And the guy was like, "Oh no, I didn't mean it that way." I'm like, "All right, well, how did you mean it, bro?" Like, I mean, I could easily just
Right.
pack up and go home. And I mean, that's the thing with trades is the people in tech companies are the white collar, and then they're selling
Yes.
products to the blue collar. And if you
Yes.
talk down to the people in the blue collar jobs, they're not going to want to do business with you. And if you don't even just
Right.
have like an appreciation or understanding of what they do, then don't try to sell them stuff. Like,
Bingo. And that's, yeah, I mean, that's key. And that's like just personally, because, I've been, one of my favorite jobs and one of the dirtiest jobs I've ever had was mucking and cleaning out cisterns and laying, new plumbing and filtration systems. And I would crawl down in the manholes and I'd be in,
oh, I
waiters.
only had to do the manhole once. Yeah, that's
Dude,
the worst.
hey, but like
That's
you said, I
terrible.
made good money and, it
I
was
made
a
good
good
money.
job.
Yeah.
And honestly, is people, yeah, they, people had this perception, oh, they're blue collar. I'm like, some of the
Oh,
smartest
they're
people I
stupid.
know
Like, that's
are
literally
blue
what they
collar.
think. Like,
Right.
yeah.
And I'm like, it is further from the truth. So is what's wonderful though, is the trades in particular, you can have the fanciest, degree or whatever, but at the end of the day, like you just said, do you want to use your toilet or not? Right?
Yeah.
Is the world's going to turn on trades. And if you can help the trades, in this case, specifically warehousing and truck driving, if you can help the trades be that much better and not overcomplicate it and make their lives help, if everybody can make money at the end of the day and have a good quality of life, great, you're winning. And that's really how you bridge the gap here. Is our generation has to get rid of this whole.
Be some respect, man. Like for all humans, like
right. Like don't show up to the dock floor in wingtip dress shoes. Like it's like that's just I've seen people that do it, and God love them. They were good people. Like they were good people, but it's just is bridge those gaps, and it starts with even as something as simple as that. Is at least come in a pair of like sneakers. Don't wear
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why for some reason you keep making me think about so many funny stories from my past. Like so we had a boss, and he was the owner of our plumbing company that I worked. Like I was a subcontractor within this guy's company, and he would show up to job sites every now and again. He was a little crazy, man. Like he was a control freak. He would just show up randomly. And but he would come stand like on this huge pile of dirt, like feces everywhere. He would just come in like brand new Hugo Boss, like dress shoes, bro, like brand new Hugo Boss dress shoes. And like he was like a blue collar guy, but like he liked to dress like that. I mean, he was successful. He wanted people to know he was successful. And so like I don't really see the issue with showing up, in like a suit or something. But I get where you're coming from. It's just
I guess it's like if you're like, well, in that case, I would just say
that's another thing. You can't just falsely represent yourself, bro. You can't just show up in like steel toe boots and ripped jeans when you've never worked a day in your life.
Right. No, I absolutely agree. And that's like, in his case, I just say absolute respect. You've earned the right, like go for it, but it's
he
like
dug enough holes to buy those shoes. So he gets
bingo. But as you see a lot of salespeople, especially,
they're you're right. They just don't think about it.
The nonverbal communication, especially when you're talking about software, that's the thing too. AI is developing, all this automation is coming in. Technical sellers need to understand that the more technology advances, especially in the supply chain, the more important the human aspect is going to become within that whole process, because eventually you see the shift now is, relationships. 3 years ago, people weren't talking about relationships.
Yeah, now it's about a single relationship when the market was good, bro.
Exactly. And now, inflation's up, labor shortage, economy, election year for, I think it's like 60% of the world is up for an election. So not only is the US, but like half, over half the world is up for an election, which always brings turbulence. Is, oh, well, now relationships are important, right? Keep that going. And that's one thing too, is, with Arvist, they've done that. And that's one thing is, when I work with people, but especially if I get involved with teams, such as Arvist is, at the end of the day, Arvist is going to do exactly, what we showcase it to do. We're going to develop with you and grow with you. But, as a head of sales and as a sales guy / operations guy for most of my career, all you have at the end of the day is your name and your word. Right.
Yep.
And, it takes twice as long to build bridges you burn. And that's the one type of thing is, I get involved with things that I care about, that I enjoy, that I can buy in, because great. If
once
you can
put your name on something, if you're selling snake oil, you'll forever be the snake oil salesman.
Exactly.
There's no recovering from that.
There's not. And that's, I think, in our generation, here for a while, that there was a kind of vibe like that, where it was like, oh, this new software, this new technology, and it's okay. And that's when I started encouraging people from a consulting aspect is you need to ask more specific questions in this area. You need to be more dialed in on this comment, and it's because technology is a beautiful thing, but
it's easy to misrepresent technology to the general population, because the general population doesn't understand like a lot of technology.
Exactly.
Especially when it comes to hardware and advancements in technology, like when it comes to computing. And when you look at NVIDIA, if you ask like a random guy off the street, a random girl off the street, hey, how does NVIDIA make all of their money? Like, they're going to say, oh, I don't know. I have no idea. And most people, and even I, to be honest, I thought NVIDIA made a bulk of their money off of like PC gaming parts.
Right.
They make literally like 90% of their revenue from AI computing now. So
yeah.
like they don't even care about the gaming market anymore, which used to be how they got so big, and their huge market share was from gaming. And now all of a sudden they literally don't care about gaming anymore. They're like, I don't care, man. It could stop tomorrow. We wouldn't give a shit.
Right. So. And that's, they're actually, they're one of our, we have a partnership with them.
Yeah, of course you do. They're like,
and it's right. And it's like, this is, and that's, we work these relationships and, these types of, you have to make it relatable. You have to make it, quite frankly, you can make it as flashy as you want, but the one that's able to do exactly what they say to do, they are able to do, will always win. And that's where Arvist has come through, is
promise and over deliver than
bingo.
To over promise under.
Bingo. And
especially when it comes to tech, man, because people already don't know what you're talking about. So you might as well just sell them actually what you're going to do in an easy way, rather than trying to complicate them. Because like you said, it's going to scare them away at the end of the day. If you came into a sales pitch and just started using a bunch of tech terms that nobody understood, they'd be like, all right, get out of my office. Like,
Right. I mean, honestly, just think, like, I've been in scenarios kind of like that where I've been on the receiving end, and it's just like, it makes your neck tighten up, you cringe up a little bit, and you're just like, you're watching a train wreck in progress, and you're just like, you might be saying the right things, and if you can't simply bridge that gap of communication and communicate concisely and clearly, it's never going to land. And it just goes back to it, especially is, warehouse operators, truck drivers, brokers, carriers, when you're in the supply chain, time is of the essence, 99.99% of the time, unless you're like, well, I was going to say, unless you're shipping toilet paper, but that's apparently every natural disaster in the United States. Everybody buys out the toilet paper. So, all of that, it's time is of the essence. And the more time that you can save and make your employees and make your operation that much more efficient and potent, that's what our goal is. And that's what we're able to provide. But it's from a very upstream angle, or a link farther upstream or up the chain in the supply chain.
Okay, I could talk to you about this for like 17 hours, and we probably will. Like, I'll definitely keep in touch. You're like easy to talk to. The company sounds awesome. But I'll summarize it in my own words, I guess, from what I've understood. So you guys basically just integrate into the existing infrastructure of a warehouse with your technology, whatever technology you possess, and you're now able to see, pallets if they're damaged. You're able to see if things go on the wrong truck. You're able to see which dock doors are not being used. You're able to see detention times. You're able to see PPE issues and all of that without any human interaction. And then that was the one thing I forgot to ask you, which I wanted to ask you.
Oh, yeah.
So once all of that data gets calibrated, like let's say John's walking down the assembly line, he's not wearing eye protection. Where does that data go? Does it go in real time to some guy's computer where he can see that information?
That's a great question. Yes. So all of that, let's say John walks by and he doesn't have, see you, Dave. Thanks for listening. Let's say John walks by, he doesn't have a vest on, and he's supposed to have a vest on. That within 15 seconds is going to report directly to the WMS if that is where they classify that to go to. But there's also phone, text, email alerts that are instantaneously.
So it does go real time to some human.
Oh yeah,
I can see.
Absolutely. We save that data, but if it's an incident as classified by our client, that gets pushed within 15 seconds because that's the quickest we can shoot it back.
So does that also help client? I'm thinking of like a random scenario here. Like let's say, because I worked in a warehouse also for like, I don't know, bro, like 2 months. I hated that stuff. But it was just too repetitive. I was like loading a machine with heavy like paper all day. I was like,
that's fair. Fair.
Yeah, it was a good experience. I definitely like appreciate everyone that works in warehouses more. It's the repetition that killed me, not the hard labor.
I completely
brutal,
I completely understand that.
Yeah, but long story short, so let's say there's an incident, somebody loses a foot, man, and this is all captured within the technology. Does that now help the employers and the employee and everybody with like insurance issues and stuff like that? Like,
that's an excellent question. So from our safety and compliance aspect, we have 3 modules. Safety and compliance is one module. And so every time, let's say somebody, that happens, somebody's foot gets lopped, somebody breaks a bone, whatever, that visually, as long as the cameras are positioned appropriately, is going to pick up. The model will highlight that, and you'll see it go from green to red because it identifies the objects and the individuals. And then what that'll do is save the entire video clip of the incident. It's going to pull into our dashboard, notify the appropriate individuals based on X, Y, and Z. And then what we've also done is we have a module or a feature within that module is our video files, our computer vision AI and our generative AI or additional LL, large language model. It will read and then summarize the event itself, what happened. Like John's leg is chopped off. This is that. And what it'll do is we'll summarize it, but we always encourage people to just, you still need to glance. Everybody can tell when AI has written something. So you need to, look through, just double check it. But what it'll do is it'll autofill OSHA incident reports, OSHA forms, et cetera. And so for our safety directors, specifically, we're seeing routinely massive amounts of time saved in the, 2 to 4+ hours at a time for incidents, depending on the severity.
Yeah, like the paperwork, man.
Right. And then from all that, because we're able to have the video file saved as well as the summaries and the forms filled out appropriately, when it comes to insurance, any additional claims, et cetera, is we've just made that information that much more ready, quicker. I don't think I said that correctly, but we've just made that more available at a much quicker pace than it ever was in the past.
No, of course. I mean, yeah, man, like I said, this all sounds like a dream to me as somebody that enjoys tech. I'll definitely hit you up to get some kind of a tech demo off of you guys somehow. Yeah. Like, it makes me, you've literally sold me so much to the point that I wish I just had a warehouse. Like, I want this in my warehouse. I don't have a warehouse.
Well, awesome. So, honestly, you ever get a wild hair, you can come visit here in Greater Cincinnati. I'll give you a demo, and then we'll go see if we can find some warehouses down here.
Yeah, I'm down.
We'll start shipping some bourbon or something like that since we're in Kentucky.
That's okay. So I wanted to bring that up too, but I didn't find the time yet. So whenever somebody asks me that question, they're like, because we, like, us dispatchers, like, we stare at the map of America all day, man. And like, we all, like, there's some dead time. So you have like some office talk, like, man, if you lived in America, where would you live? That's like always a conversation that pops up. Doesn't matter like who you're with. At some point that'll get asked. And I always come back to them. Like, I want to live in Louisville. I have no idea why, though. Like, I literally know nothing about Kentucky. I want to live in Kentucky.
It is, Kentucky, it's a flyover state. We're a small state, right? But it gets in your bones, man. Born and raised
something about
here.
The bourbon, and like I watched like the documentaries of that. I can't remember that pheasant, that one bourbon that was like getting stolen because it was like so rare. And like,
I'll have to look into that. But the Bourbon Trail, like, Kentucky is one of those where it's old. It's an old school state. It's a small state, and but it's got a really good blend. Louisville, especially. Yeah. By the way, if you're not from Kentucky and you say Louisville, folks will know you're not from Kentucky.
What did I say?
Louisville. Everybody down here, they go Louisville. Back in the
Louisville.
Yeah, it's everything. And fun fact for you. But yeah, you got the Bourbon Trail, you have thoroughbred horse racing, which, those two industries right there are huge aspects of like the state culture and like the people, like employs tons of people. And then you got rolling farms, you got cattle, and it's a good just mix of not only north and south, but also, that rural and
it just reminds me like of old school ways. Like you can like go to like, I don't know, just something about it. There's like an allure of Kentucky to me. And like you guys have Louisville, we have in Toronto. If you say Toronto with the second T, they'll also know you're not from there because you say Toronto.
Same kind of, right. But no, honestly, I always tell people like, we don't have the biggest sites, we don't have the national parks, but what we do have, especially when it comes to state parks, the Bourbon Trail, the horse racing, the horse industry. It's
got a vibe, bro.
Phenomenal. Like some of the best, and it's worth to slow down a little bit and take it in, and then puff on that cigar a little bit longer while you're at the Maker's Mark Distillery, and tell me that you don't enjoy it.
And it's good because I just got heavily into cigar smoking, so now I'll fit in down there.
There you go.
All right, man. We got to run through the rest of the show. Shout out to Arvist. I definitely got to get some more info about you guys and figure some more stuff out. But you did a really good job explaining it to me. It just sounds like a warehouse solution that's a no-brainer. You know, just extra pair of hands, extra pair of eyes. It's going to help the drivers out, the workers out, safety. I mean, there's just an endless amount of benefits to it.
Yeah.
But back into the rest of the show, since we kind of went really overboard, just vibing out about Arvist and technology. Let me find my way back into what we've already covered. So, first logistics success. First time in logistics where you said, I like logistics.
First one, it was in my brokering days with RWI. It was with gentlemen, two brothers, Ken and Tim Froelich. They're both here locally they were both working with Aries Global at the time. And they were my first customer I landed as a broker, and I was shipping tractor parts and tractor engines to England for them out of the Northeast.
England.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like
England, not
they were a freight forwarder, and we were just their domestic. I was helping them on their domestic legs out of into ports and overseas, and that was the one that has felt best in my entire career. Super simple, like nothing flashy, but it was, it's
cool.
It felt good. Yeah.
I had a chance to quote some local Serbian alcohol for I can't even remember who, man. It's been like a month or two since I thought about this, but I had a chance to move like 45,000 pounds of local alcohol to Chicago, and we found I have like a local broker here that I'm good friends with, and he just figured it all out. We were gonna get a truck to bring it to the ports, and that port was gonna the ship was gonna bring it to Virginia, and then another truck was gonna have to pick it up in America, and I wish we did that because it's just cool. It's not really flashy. It's just something that's interesting.
And it's, Ken, Tim, if they see this, shout out to you guys. They're great dudes, but also, it's always, they gave me my first shot, especially as a broker, so that's always icing on the cake. And I saw Ken not too long ago. He's with Seco Logistics now. So I still see him locally. So it's kind of a nice thing is my first real kind of dive into it are also some local folks that I'm able to see, a handful of times throughout the year.
Yeah, that's cool. But all right, let's flip it into your first failure in logistics. First time you screwed something up, man.
Oh,
I feel like you have a few of them if you're thinking about it.
Honestly, I'm just going to be completely transparent is, HR within logistics. It's not even as far as a load. I've never had a huge screw up, right? I've never had there's been delays and stuff like that, but I've never had.
I can also say that with confidence. I've made some mistakes here and there, but they weren't drastic mistakes.
Right. No, I never let it, but my HR experience is, I
feel like HR and logistics is a nightmare, dude.
It was, God bless the people that are in it because you absolutely need them. That I thought it was I thought that was hey, this is my, my foray in. And I did the job that I was expected. I made sure everybody was taken care of. But the back end work, it is not my cup of tea. And that was just routinely. It's whether it's redoing payroll, not because, somebody didn't get paid, but I always tried to do, when I was helping with payroll stuff is I want to do it 3 to 5 days in advance and schedule it if I can just to be cut. And it's oh, well, shoot, you screwed up this Excel spreadsheet. So now you have to redo X, Y, and Z. And it was that.
I'm not a paperwork guy. I'm really not a paperwork guy, man. If I'll do a lot of things and I'll work really hard, I'll dig holes, man. But if you stick a bunch of data entry in front of me, I'll just run so far away from it, dude.
That was great experience. Learned a lot. Also, what I learned is that was not where my strong suit.
Not for you.
Yeah.
All right, man. Sorry, we really screwed up the structure of this one, but that's okay. Craziest logistics story. It can be in any aspect of your career.
Let's see. Craziest logistics story. The one I always go back to, it's an RWI story. It's nothing, again, not super. There's been definitely people that have had crazier.
Oh, I've heard some insane stories the past 3 episodes, man. So
I don't want to prop it up. They're probably better. They're I'll just say, they're probably. But no, I was always one of those. I've always been a hands-on guy, whether it was in the military, whether it was in logistics, and regardless of what capacity. But at RWI, I had an expedite shipment for P&G in downtown Cincinnati, and it was supposed to drop off. There was wrecks, and it was on a Friday. There were wrecks everywhere. All the interstates were just backlogged. This driver was stuck, and I was like, well, it's got to deliver. Like, it's already been pushed back. It's got to deliver, you know. I got on the cell phone with the receiving dock down at the main P&G building, drove downtown Cincinnati about like 30 minutes north, and just like literally walked up to the dock door as they were shutting it, knocked on the dock door and said, I need you to keep this open for another 17 minutes. And they're like, what? I was like, here's the GPS of my driver. I was like, he's going to be here in 17 minutes. I was like, the people upstairs need this. And they're like, are you being serious right now? And I was like, I kind of am. I know. Like, cause I was like, I showed up in like, I had like khaki shorts on and a polo, and they're just like, who is this guy? And I was just like, I'm not lying to you. This needs to happen. And so yeah, it ended up all working out, and I ended up shooting the breeze with the dock workers for a while. So like we ended up getting along, and, you know, but yeah, I mean, nothing too crazy, but everything delivered. The driver was like, dude, I was like, thank God, you know, and it was one of those things. It was one of the few like save the day moments, you know, that I had that was like, oh, I can actually do that, and like it could work out, you know, and it just happened to do so. And I was like, oh, thank God, you know, but that whole experience though, that was just, it was like compounding failure after failure, and then it finally worked out. So it was just like it was just
like a you could breathe finally type of moment.
Right.
That reminds me of this time when I used to do power only. Like I was dispatching power only for like a long time. And that's like something like, it's always interesting, man, because you never know what type of trailer you're going to pick up, what kind of condition it's going to be. It's just like a whole different world. Right. And my driver gets to a trailer, and I kid you not, he's in like the middle of nothing, Arkansas, like just some farm. It was like a pickup of a tanker trailer at a farm. And he gets there, he has like the two or three flat tires, and he's in the middle of nowhere, dude. And I was like, okay, well, like, what do you want? What do you expect me to do, man?
Right.
And long story short, I found him like 11 miles down the road so he could limp it, like a car tire repair place. And I was like, could you guys by chance like put some air in a trailer tires? And they're like, yeah, sure. And I saw that there's a bunch of parking, and it was like easy for him to make it there. So I saved the day there. It felt so good.
Right. It's like when those moments work out, you're just like, yes.
You feel so smart. You're like, oh, I'm so smart.
Yeah. You're like, I'm a wizard. Like,
yeah. It's nice when you help the drivers, man, because nobody really helps them out. They really just need somebody on their team, man. Like, that's what I miss the most.
I think that's one of the biggest things about brokering that I miss is like, I really enjoyed, you know, like you got to be a champion for the driver. You got to like you have to, because it's like at the end of the day, it's like, you don't exist without these guys or gals. Yep. You know what I mean? Is you all got to work together. And when you're able to, I mean, it's also just like you put yourself in their shoes. Like I've been in situations like that where it's just like everything about this moment just sucks.
And it so just feels like you're like alone in the world, man, in those situations. Like,
and if you can just be halfway helpful, or at least just be kind, you know, and if that means finding a gas station or holding a door, it's like, hey, just do the right thing. Like, you know,
treating the drivers like they're humans, man. I mean, I don't think that's too much to fucking ask, but
I don't either.
Is what it is, man. Right. I'm gonna try this one last time. I've officially canceled this part of the show, but I feel like you might have. This is gonna be the last time I ever ask this question in this podcast. Okay. But
all right.
What's your favorite joke?
Oh, what's my favorite joke?
Probably you don't have one because nobody ever does, and that's why it's getting.
Dude, no, that's a good one though.
I know, I love it, man, but nobody ever has a joke. So
all right, I don't have a joke, but my favorite jokes, like I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Yeah, and there's jokes honestly it's people in trouble. Like,
right.
Every joke.
Yeah, there's a couple of those jokes where I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Totally can't say that.
Trucking jokes, but you can't say it on a live podcast.
One of my like favorite things though, I got like such a like I love Adam Sandler. I love slapstick humor. Like I love that type of stuff. Like, have you ever like anti jokes, like seen the books or like the quotes, like where it's like. Just look up anti jokes and they're hilarious. And
like anti, like ANTI, like the opposite of a joke.
Yeah, like there's some of the worst things you could probably say. Like, but if you don't laugh at them, you just don't have a sense of humor. And you know those are some of my favorite. Like my brother always comes out with these one-liners, and they're always like just like anti like,
Yeah,
and they got kind of a dark twist to them.
It's so funny. Yeah.
Right? You're just like, that just happened.
That's my kind of humor too. Well, I'll take this opportunity to send off this segment, and I'll tell you the joke I've been using, which is hilarious to me.
Perfect.
What do you call a fish with no eyes?
Oh shoot. I don't know. I want to say a worm, but I don't feel like that's right.
No, you just call it.
But there you go.
There's no eyes.
There you go. That's good. That's a dad joke, man. That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm deleting it out of the structure so it'll never be asked again, man. That's that's like the perfect fit to end it, because you didn't have the joke, and that's why I'm ending it. But to be fair, I've been running it for like 20 episodes, and like 4 or 5 times I laughed really hard, so it was worth it for me, man.
Absolutely. I love that. And also, honestly, I got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, so now I know I'm gonna be like, hey, Dad's got a new joke. Guess what?
Yeah, it's a solid joke too, man. I love that joke.
Right.
All right, man, last 2 questions and we can go enjoy our weekend. Regarding train and rail transportation, how many chuggas come before choo-choo?
Ooh. 2.
It's not enough, but it's acceptable. It's better than 8 or 10. I hate when people tell me like 15, because that doesn't make sense. I'll forgive 2. 2 is acceptable. I think 8 is the real answer.
That sounds good.
But any multiple of 2 is acceptable, especially if it's less than 8. So.
All right, fair.
And to finish off the show, it's chicken wing choices, man. When you eat chicken wings, do you eat drums or flats?
Oh, my wife hates this. I'm a drum person all the way. I can't stand flats.
I'll
eat them.
Answer.
If they're there, I'll eat them, obviously. But
I'll eat them, bro. It's food, but I hate them.
But I want drums every single time.
Bro, like when you bite it and then you get all the meat off, but all that middle meat is there, and you gotta like poke it out. Yeah, you gotta break. It's not fair.
Right. It's like, just give me. It's like, just give me the leg.
One hand there, bro.
Exactly.
All right, ranch or blue cheese on the dipping sauce?
Oh, ranch. I'm a ranch guy.
Fair. And breaded or non-breaded?
Oh, so I prefer non-breaded. There's a local joint here. They call them dock style wings, and they dip them and then fry them like 3 separate times, or twice. It's like 2 separate times. They're phenomenal. So yeah, I mean,
that sounds like kind of breaded at that point. Like the skin is gonna be so crunchy that it is.
Well, yeah, they load them up with sauce. So yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of is, but yeah, if I can get it non-breaded, but obviously if it's breaded, yeah, I'm always gonna pound some wings.
I mean, I'll give you a pass on both of those, since you have a reasoning behind the triple fried dock.
I'll take it.
I'll give you a pass on 2. So technically, you got 1 out of 3 right, but I'll give you a pass on the other 2.
All right.
All right, man. It was really nice to meet you and talk to you. We'll definitely keep in touch.
Yeah.
And good luck with Arvist. And like I said, if there's a way that you could send me some material on Arvist, I'd love to check it out.
Yeah, I'll shoot it over to you. And yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And yeah, have a great weekend.
Hey, enjoy your weekend, and make sure you tell your kids that joke, man.
100%. Will do.
Nice to meet you, bro.
You too. Take care. See ya.
That wraps up podcast episode 45 with Aaron Hatfield, head of sales with Arvist. They're in the warehousing space. If you need any help with automating your warehouse, making it safer, more efficient, or helping out the bottom line, give Arvist a shout, and have a good weekend, everybody.